Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to start with cleaning the engine block, water pump, and well, everything that needs to be cleaned pretty well. Cut over the drains, that way we don't want to make a ginormous mess like I did over here, which I'll be cleaning up right now as well. Alright guys, a decision has been made. We are going to not take the lower end apart. We're going to keep it the way it is. We're going to go ahead and clean it all up and put it back together. But I would like to throw as many performance things that I can think of at it. Obviously, it'd be cool to get a cam similar to the one we have in the Torino in there. It'll make a little more torque. But since this is a budget, we're just going to put together with new timing chain, gaskets, things of that nature. I have a 4-barrel cast iron intake to throw on this thing. We're going to port match some stuff. And maybe if I can find some cheap headers, we'll throw those on there as well. But we're going to keep the lower end stock and same as it is. So I already took one of the heads apart and I used a really cool tool I'll show you. I recently inherited this valve spring compressor and it is really nice. I don't know if like this compressor was with tools from the 50s, and I don't know if springs in the 50s had lower spring rates, which I'm sure they do, or if I'm just weak, but this lever is entirely too short, so I had to add a giant pipe onto it to help with leverage. It makes it a lot easier. But it makes taking valve springs on and off super duper easy. I'll go ahead and show you guys what the exhaust valves looked like on the head I take it apart. I went ahead and wire brushed and cleaned this one up just a little bit. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but that surface is pitted a lot. So it's not great. We'll see how it laps in, but we'll lap them in good and hope for the best. All the intake seats look really nice. And I haven't really got them cleaned up enough to know, but I think it almost looks like these have had hardened exhaust seats put in, which would not surprise me. I am curious to know the time frame of this rebuild, but they might have still put hardened exhaust seats back in the 80s if it was rebuilt then. Yep, I'm pretty darn sure it has. I think you guys can see the little lip right there. So these have been cut out and tapped with new hardened exhaust seats, which is awesome. That means we don't have to worry about that. As you can see, it was sealing pretty well on all these. That one's really oil fouled, so we'll worry about that another time. But these middle two actually look really nice, and I haven't touched them hardly at all. So the valve guides are just a little bit wobbly. So the gasket kit I got has new valve stem seals, so we'll go ahead and throw those on, obviously. But I want to try and open these exhaust ports up a little bit, open the intake up a little bit, and just try and get the most out of this as we possibly can. But again, it is a truck, so it doesn't have to have 1,000 horsepower. All right, I just finished trying to pressure wash the heads and oil pan here to a marginal degree of success. Now I gotta dry them off really good or else they'll rust. So I just want to let you guys know that I am completely soaked and very dirty apparently. So I'm just gonna get these things dried off and we'll get her maybe WD-40 down a little bit if we can. So it's a really beautiful night here. Just got a fresh coat of paint on the engine block here. Painting her black. Go for gold for the oil pan, gold for the valve covers. Got the freeze plugs tapped in. We'll pick up tube all cleaned up. And now I'm working on cleaning up the oil pump. Over here relapping these valves into these heads and using this really cool old valve lapper. The exhaust valves, these heads really sucked. The seats look halfway decent and they're lapping in, you know, pretty nice after a little bit of work. But I never tested this one last night, full of water and oil, and did not leak out a drop. So I think that they're sealing now. What I did, I have stolen the exhaust valves out of the 352 C4 heads, which, interesting note, the exhaust valves on the D2 heads had a little dish in them. I'll show you what that looked like. So these are the valves out of those D2 heads off the truck, 390. But the seat on the valve is very pitted, and it did not want to lap in well, and it would probably leak pretty bad. But the valves in these 352 heads were a little bit like that, but they definitely cleaned up a lot easier, and they're flat instead of having the dish, so more compression. Is that the theory? So got to relap all these valves in, and as well as the other head as well, wherever that guy went. But yep, one step at a time. I am by no means a professional when it comes to doing cylinder heads, and obviously it's not even that clean. But it is important that your valve and the valve seat have a good mating surface to seal on. I don't know how hard it is to see, but there's a little pit right there. It's literally the only blemish I can see in this seat. And it definitely is not great, but overall the rest of the seat is in pretty good condition. So the valve itself looks pretty good as well. Wouldn't hurt to lap it in one more time, but as you can see, I think this valve is going to seal pretty well. Overall, all the intake valves are in really great condition on this motor. Just the exhaust valves suck. So we're going to go ahead and put her in there. Should be all right. Make sure you put a little oil in your valve guide there. Dad and I worked really hard on it last night. We got a lot of progress made. He worked on modifying the engine stand so we could accept the truck motor mounts to the car ones. Looks really awesome. With Dad's help, we got everything cleaned really good. It would have taken me like all week to clean all the things if I'd done it by myself. So new fuel pump on, oil filters on, adapters on, new timing chain, got the dipstick in. I will be getting headers for this if the motor runs good enough for headers, you know, if it's worthy of them. And then we'll take the manifolds off. But for the run stand, we're just gonna leave these manifolds on just to get it fired up and see what it sounds like. And if it runs good, like I said, we'll get some long tubes for it. I think that'd be pretty awesome. The next step really is set the intake on and finish the front end here. I want to put the intake on and then do the water pump. I noticed that there wasn't a dowel in here, so Dad made this out of a piece of pipe to align the intake up. So that's cool. These, according to my book, I torqued the top ones to 90 foot-pounds. I torqued the bottom row to 80. On the ARP bolts that are on there, I just did 110, I think. 100, 110, I don't remember exactly what the spec was, but they were all the same. So I found it weird that these were different. But I decided I wanted to go ahead and paint all the individual pieces rather than paint it as a blob, you know? So we can see all the gaskets poking through. I don't know if that's cool or not, but I think it's kind of cool. I did a compression ratio calculator on this motor, and based on the specs and the measurements that I took, it should be about 9.8 to 1 or something like that. Very, very close, maybe plus or minus a little bit, but right about 9.8 to 1. So it's not a terrible compression motor, and it does have a 390 GT cam. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but I mic'd it out, and it is exactly the same 390 cam that was in the Torino. So that is probably a pretty good little cam for this motor. Got all the lifters back in the same hole they came out of. So got the windage tray and intake is all ready to go back on. We just gotta set it on there, but I'm gonna wait to have some help to put that on there because that thing is so heavy. One of the rocker shafts was bent, so I had to use one of the other ones I had on hand. So I had to assemble both of these out of random parts to make them work basically. And 3 of the springs were broken on one of them, so something definitely happened to it, I don't know. But they're both assembled now and ready to go on there. It's important that you know the correct orientation for those. You gotta make sure the holes, oil holes, are facing down and to the correct side. I should have recorded that, but it's in this book. I'd highly recommend getting a book about it if you're gonna do a Ford or any engine really. You should get a book about it. They make all kinds of books, and it's very important and very useful information in these. So, gotta clean up the fan, that pulley. Dad worked on cleaning the water pump off. He took the backing plate out and we put a new gasket on there. We just wanted to check out the water pump, make sure it was good. This does seem to be a replacement unit. It doesn't have any kind of Ford part number or anything on it, but it's not like it's wore out or anything. It actually spins quite nice and doesn't have any play in the shaft there, so it's a good unit. The oil pump in here was a Melling oil pump. It was an aftermarket unit. Just a stock flow, stock pressure, but it is kind of cool. Got the oil pump drive shaft installed, obviously. Learned that the hard way on the 390 and the Torino. So, anyway, guys, that's the progress we made last night. Hoping to get the rest of it together tonight, and I don't know, getting close to firing it up, so looking forward to it. Just did more sanding than you'll probably ever see me do. I went over these with 80 and then 180, just to basically get the stuff that was going to be bad off. These still are very far from perfect. I really should strip these all the way down, but I did not intend on these being the valve covers that I leave on here forever. So I really like to put a set of Thunderbird valve covers on here, or some of the ones that say Ford in big letters, the older style valve covers. So if any of you guys have those, just let me know. I would really like a set for this truck. I really think the Thunderbird valve covers would be perfect. But for now, these are what I got. These are what we're gonna run. I'm not a big fan of the painted Power by Ford valve covers, so that's why I'm gonna go with these. And we're gonna paint them gold, just like the oil pan over there. I think it'll turn out all right. It's not gonna be perfect, but like I said, I'd really like to find a set of Thunderbird valve covers for this motor. So, all right, guys, just got everything all wired up for the run stand. We got this all made last night and this morning. Got our ignition switch and starter button, as well as the gauges. And you know, that's cool. I'm just gonna crank it over a little bit, and we'll see if we can get fuel up to the carburetor. Atmosphere. It burns oil at the moment. I'm hoping the rings are just stuck to the pistons. If any of you guys have any ideas about that, let me know. I'm kind of at a loss. I just put different rocker arms and oil restrictors to the top, so I was thinking it was getting too much oil to the head. I just put a Holly jet in that oil hole, and that was all I did. And then I put these much nicer rocker arms on that were not near as worn out. But as we saw, you know, there's not a whole bunch of oil in the head, so we do know the rotating assembly on this was very wore out, so that could definitely be why. But if any of you guys have any ideas, let me know. This has been the truck 390. As of right now, I think we'll probably just put it in and hopefully it goes away. Maybe we can try some different miracle goos to see if we can get the smoke to go away. But on idle it doesn't, and regular cruising it doesn't. But whenever you really romp on it, it really starts blowing smoke. So I don't have a dipstick to know how much oil we're burning, but I've ran it for probably about 20 minutes now. And maybe if we got another really good heat cycle in it, it would break those rings loose. Hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you next time on It'll Run.